Tensions are rising after the deadliest wave of Palestinian terror attacks inside Israel in years. Clashes at the Aqsa Mosque and a new round of rocket fire toward Israel from Gaza in the past week, with Israel responding by striking what it says are Hamas targets. With the country on high alert, ABC's Erielle Reshef got exclusive access with the Israeli Defense Forces as they step up security efforts. And she brings us a look at the measures that Israel says it's taking to prevent escalation to an all-out conflict.
It is a foreboding scene in this volatile region. Chaos erupting over several days at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. Israeli authorities storming the compound. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett saying Palestinian rioters are using the holy site to harbor and hurl rocks and fireworks from inside. Hundreds taken into custody.
My responsibility as Prime Minister of Israel is to provide freedom of prayer to everyone in Jerusalem, including Muslims, which is why I had to send in policemen to remove the rioters, and it worked.
But Israel's actions at Al-Aqsa condemned across the Muslim world.
What happened today is a crime. Peaceful worshippers attacked while they were praying. Many of them were beaten.
Those searing images of tumult at one of the most sacred spaces for Muslims and Jews, eerily reminiscent of the tensions that helped spark an 11-day war between Israel and Hamas last year. Rockets launched from Gaza for the first time since that conflict. Israel responding with airstrikes against what it says are Hamas targets in the Gaza Strip. The Israeli government now banning non-Muslims from the compound for the remainder of Ramadan. Clashes coming as Israel is already on high alert following the deadliest spate of violence inside the country in years. 14 victims, among them Jews, Arab Israelis, and foreign nationals, murdered in 4 separate Palestinian terror attacks in just 3 weeks. Israel's security service finding no coordination between the 4 attackers, though praised by ISIS, Hamas, and other Palestinian militant groups, none taking direct responsibility. All of the perpetrators have been determined to be so-called lone wolves.
Israel is trying to prevent those lone wolves attacks from becoming kind of a mass phenomenon or very large-scale phenomenon, trying to isolate them, not allowing the mob or the people in the West Bank to join them in.
The IDF honing in on Jenin, a portion of the northern West Bank, after they say 2 of the Palestinian attackers are believed to have come from the area, including the gunman who opened fire at a crowded Tel Aviv bar 2 weeks ago.
What started as a carefree Thursday night on this busy stretch of Dizengoff shattered in an instant when a Palestinian gunman opened fire, killing 3 Israelis and wounding more than 10 others.
Days later, we meet IDF Lieutenant Colonel Alon Hanouni on a dusty road along the Green Line between Israel and the northern West Bank, a short drive from Jenin.
Where exactly did the Tel Aviv attacker infiltrate?
איפה הוא חצה בדיוק? אז את רואה את הנקודה השקופה?
It is here where the IDF says the Tel Aviv attacker exploited breaches in Israel's security fence to sneak into the country undetected.
The fence has been repaired, but there was a hole here, and that's how the Tel Aviv attacker managed to make his way into Israel, crossing over this road, scaling that wall, going over barbed wire where someone was waiting to help him 50 yards away.
In an armored truck, we ride with Hanouni next to the fence. Israel says it was built during the wave of deadly violence of the Second Intifada, or Palestinian uprising, in the early to mid-2000s to curtail a rash of Palestinian suicide bombings. Palestinians contend it is a form of collective punishment, effectively imprisoning them in the West Bank and restricting their free movement. Hanouni points to the deteriorating portions of the fence where he says Israel has tacitly allowed tens of thousands of Palestinians to cross illegally by foot and by car, believing mutual economic prosperity will breed calm.
ולכן המחבלים רוצים לצאת החוצה כדי לעשות פיגועים. האזרחים רוצים לצאת לעבוד.
So you're saying most of the Palestinians that are crossing through the border fence are really just trying to come into Israel to work?
Hanouni says the area was loosely patrolled until now.
After the latest wave of violence, Israel is not only working to repair the fence, but it's also added 5 times the number of troops to this area.
Hanouni and his troops gear up for a raid in Jenin. The IDF says it is part of a pinpointed strategy to root out terrorist elements.
The Israeli government proven that it's different from previous governments. They don't believe in collective punishment, so they go after the person, not after the whole community.
The IDF says it has apprehended more than 200 individuals suspected of involvement in terrorism in the West Bank since the end of March. The Palestinian Health Ministry saying 12 have been killed in those raids by the IDF in the past 2 weeks. While Israel is working to prevent future attacks, it has largely avoided some of the broader retaliatory measures of the past.
This is a lesson that was learned during the 2015 attacks. Back then there were also many lone wolves, so-called, with knives. And in order to prevent it from becoming bigger and bigger, what the Israeli authorities understood, it needs to give some gestures to the population. Some removing of restrictions that will allow the economy to flourish, even though there are attacks still all over. So this is what they're trying to do right now.
Israel says it has refrained from banning access from the West Bank, although routine closures for the end of Passover began tonight. If Israel were to close down the West Bank, how big of an impact would that have on Palestinians?
It would be huge, simply because now Israel is number 2 employer to the Palestinian people. More than 200,000 people commute every day from West Bank to Israel. This is the only source of economy.
With tensions running high, all eyes are now on Hamas in Gaza.
Is there a larger appetite on the part of Hamas and its supporters to start a full-fledged conflict?
Because of the very fragile economic situation, they are very careful from escalating the situation with Israel. They know that many Palestinians today going out of Gaza to work in Israel. That brings a lot of money in.
In recent weeks, Israel saying it has sought to lessen volatility, issuing a total of 20,000 work permits for Palestinians from the Hamas-ruled Gaza Strip, 8,000 more than in the past.
Hamas is tired from the past year confrontation with Israel. They are in agony, in financial crisis, economic crisis. So now they are focusing on the economy, because the economy in Gaza was devastated.
Israel also says it has issued permits allowing West Bank Palestinians to visit immediate family in Israel, and for women, children, and men over the age of 40 from the West Bank to pray at Aqsa for Ramadan. Is this enough to try to quell tensions at this point?
No, it is not enough. This is a political conflict, and it needs political solution. Easing a life condition is good to stabilize the security for a while, but not for a long term.
Militant groups have called for resistance against Israel for weeks.
None of the parties is interested in full-scale war, neither Israel nor the Palestinian Authority nor the Hamas. Still, Hamas would sometimes sacrifice Gaza Strip in order to prove to its Palestinian audience and supporters it would do whatever required to protect Al-Aqsa Mosque.
So with the third Friday of Ramadan and the close of Passover approaching, the region is still on knife's edge.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.